Hey everyone, this is Steli Efti with Close.io, and in today's video I'm going to share an interviewing technique that I've just developed over the last few months that can help you uncover some of the worst secrets of a candidate before you hire them. The caveat here is that you're going to have to reveal some of the worst secrets that you and your company has as well in return. I'm going to tell you a little bit more about that just in a second. First, let me set the stage here in saying that when you hire people, it's imperative to figure out if there's a true fit, right? I talk about this in sales all the time, and we'll link up to this in this video of how important it is to figure out before you sell to somebody if they should buy your product, if they are a qualified lead, if you can help them and they can help you. And only if the answer is yes, then you go into selling mode. The same basic principle is true for candidates and people that should be working at your company. You don't want everybody to want to work at your company. You want the right type of people to want to work at your company. And you don't want to hire anyone. You want to hire the right type of person. Now, one of the challenges of making that happen when it comes to candidates is that it's the type of weird environment and social dynamic where typically both sides show up at their best version, right? It's a little bit like dating in the sense, although it's kind of weird to always go back to that metaphor to explain a lot of things, but it's so accurate. What happens a lot of times in dating is that both parties show up in the best possible version of themselves. I think there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes one or both sides are so good at being the best possible version that they are a completely different version of themselves. And then, so one or both sides agree that there's a fit and there's a matchup, but the realities of the criteria for matching up were all wrong, right? And what happens is you hear 3 or 6 months or a year down the line, you hear one side or the other go, he or she changed so much. And the truth is they didn't really change, they just became themselves, because it's impossible to maintain this fake rosy or unusual version of yourself forever. Eventually you fall into being your real self, right? With all the good and the bad. So the same principles apply in hiring. A lot of times the company will present itself in the best possible way, shine in the best possible light, sometimes or many times even, unfortunately, in a totally different light. And not just the company, maybe even the job or the opportunity or the team. It's going to be presented in a way that, a few months down the line, the candidate will turn around and go, well, they just, the job that they promised me just completely changed. Or vice versa, you'll have a company that looks at a candidate and is blown away by that candidate. And just a few months down the line, they'll go, well, that candidate changed and became this completely different person. To avoid that, because that's one of the biggest wastes of value, time. Hiring somebody and making everybody in the company and the team invest in them emotionally and with resources, onboarding them, and then figuring out that they were never the right fit, that's a very painful and very, very costly mistake. So one hack that we developed, and I developed recently over the last few months, to push us forward and to make sure that that mistake is not being done, is that I developed this little game that I play with candidates. So, candidates go through a lot of steps with us. We are a small team, only 10 people. We're doing some amazing things with 10 people. Our smallest competitors have over 100 employees, and we crush them with a tenth of the people. But hence, it's very important to have amazing people in our team. So, to interview with Close.io is a challenging process, right? It takes a lot of steps, and it's a very intense environment. If you get through all these steps and we believe that there might be a fit, eventually we're going to invite you to spend some time with me. And one of the exercises that I will do with you, one of the games that I'll play, and it's a game that you can use in your company when you interview people, or if you are being interviewed, you can propose playing that game with a potential employer. And if you ever want to work at Close.io, and if you're awesome and want to, rock and roll in SaaS and work with the company that probably has the highest hustling IQ on this planet, send us an email. Send me an email at stelly@close.io. If you interview with Close.io, I'll definitely do this, propose this game and play with you so you can prepare for it. That's totally fine. And the game goes something like this. I tell the candidate about this dating weird dynamic. I tell them about making sure that this is really the right fit for both sides. I'm telling them about how heartbreaking it is if we agree to work together and it takes us many months to uncover that it was never the right fit. So in order to combat that for both sides, I propose this game. And the game goes something like this. I will ask you to tell me something that is a weakness of yours or some reason you could imagine that would lead us not to like you or not to feel like you're doing a great job at this particular company or position in the next few months. It's an exercise of imagination. You come up with like, what could be all the reasons why this company would not like me anymore, or what are some weaknesses that I have that they will eventually uncover and that they could potentially not like. And I will do the same. I will tell you some of our worst secrets, some of the things that you might discover down the line that you won't like, that you haven't had a chance to get exposed to in the interviewing process so far. And we can go back and forth, ping pong. You bring up something that's wrong with you, I bring up something that's wrong with us. And we go back and forth and back and forth. And the goal of this game is to discourage each other from working together, right? And if we accomplish that, awesome. That means we saved each other many, many months, so much time. If we can't discourage each other, although we share our worst secrets and our worst weaknesses and the worst possible surprises we could come up with, then this might work out. The chances, at least, are much, much higher. And no candidate has ever said no. It's probably hard to say no, but they're all both surprised because they've never had to do this before. No other company, as far as I know, is doing this with people. But they're also excited about it. Now, here's what typically and practically happens. I tell them, let me go first, right? That's only fair. I propose the game. Let me show some weakness. Let me put down the kimono first before I ask that from the other party. So I go and I typically share something pretty dramatic, right? I'll tell them something that we're struggling with right now, or something that I think is not going to be as great. And then I ask them to return the favor. And typically the first thing that people share is kind of a BS weakness. It's usually along the lines of, I work too hard, or I can't help but, help too many people all the time. I guess it's these bullshit weaknesses that are truly strengths, right? So, it's fine. At that point, they still don't trust this process. It still feels risky to fully share something vulnerable. So they typically give me some BS thing and I'll just buy it. We're warming up here, so I'm not too hard with them. So then I go again and I go even harder and I make myself and our company really vulnerable and I share something real, no bullshit here. And typically, in the second round that I give them, if they go again with a BS thing, I won't let them get away with it. I'll tell them, I'll stop them at some point and go, this is great, but this is sort of like, I'm just too hardworking and too good looking, and I think those are weaknesses, just like how much I love puppies and how much I care for the environment. Like those things are not really bad things. So give me something bad. Give me something that could shock me. Give me something that other companies didn't like about you. Give me something that your mom doesn't like. Just give me something real. And at that point, I feel like I've earned it because I've given you two really hard, honest, potential negative things about my company. So if we're playing this game, let's play it by the rules. And typically at that point, they have to make a decision. Either they keep keeping the guard up and bullshitting me, but I already called them out, so this is not going to work out, or they need to let go and be real. And usually that's the moment people decide to do that. And then magic happens. They give me something good, I give them something good. They give me something good, I give them something good. That conversation is the most real conversation I ever have in the interviewing process. It's a very challenging one. It's a vulnerable one. So you need to know how to propose it. You need to know how to have this conversation in a way that inspires trust, makes somebody feel comfortable doing this. But it reveals some really important things. Some things that you don't want to have in the beginning of the conversation, But some things that if a candidate goes through multiple steps and eventually we invite them in-house and they spend some time with us and they have lunch with us and we really want to figure out if this is the right person, it's an important conversation to have. Usually, and there's a few things that come out of it. Sometimes, or most of the time actually, there are one or two things that they bring up that I had picked up on or our team had picked up on already. And that's good. It's like our hunch was maybe there's something wrong here, or maybe there's a weakness here that's being covered, and then the candidate mentions it, and then we go, oh, there's a real thing. This is very much a weakness. Can we live with this or not? Sometimes they bring up something completely new that we didn't think about, didn't see in the process, and we go, wow, how did we miss this? What can we do to learn and improve on this? Because this is an important weakness to pick up on. Or they bring up something that kind of completely changes the way we looked at them, either to the better or the worse. But it's always enlightening. Also, if you do reference checks, and we always do, we will always, before we make you an offer, we will always reach out to some references and talk to them about you. One of the best and most powerful tools I've discovered to make these reference calls valuable is to be armed with that knowledge. Because a lot of times these references, they don't want to share some of the weaknesses of a candidate. There's a reason why they agreed to be references, right? They like that person. They want to support that person. So if I can come into the conversation and say, hey, Bob told me one of his weaknesses is X, Y, Z. I'm curious, you work with Bob. How did that impact you? How do you feel about this? What's your take on it? That gives the person that's a reference the permission to talk about some real shit, because Bob talked about it with me as well. So I can now have much more powerful conversations and really get some good stuff. By the way, side tip, when you ask for references, we always ask for 3 to 4, and we always ask the candidate to explain to us why they've chosen these references. There's a lot you can learn about a candidate based on what kind of references they choose and why. And if they do a really poor job in choosing very poor references for very poor reasons, that tells you something about them, right? So that's it. That's the hack. You play a game of weakness and you become vulnerable. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to save each other from the best versions of yourself. You're trying to become really, really real, really quickly, and save each other time if it's not the perfect fit. And in the process, you reconfirm if it is the right fit, because if you play that game and you are more excited at the end of it than at the beginning of it, that's a very strong sign you should hire that person. That person should join your team as quickly as possible. All right, I'm curious to hear your thoughts on this in the commenting section. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's a lot more content around culture, hiring, using sales techniques to move your company, your startup forward. Make sure to go to blog.close.io and subscribe to our blog as well. And if you want to ask a question or get in touch, just shoot me an email at stelly@close.io or ping me on Twitter @stelly. I'm looking forward to hear from you. Looking forward to see you very soon.